Hope and fear so often walk hand in hand. And what can embody that duality more than birth? In this episode, we hear from two midwives who have spent years navigating that delicate balance. Natasha's own experience during pregnancy gave her a profound understanding of the sensitivity her job would demand. And Marley, whose years as both a midwife and antenatal educator have helped her guide families through the uncertainty of labour. I'm Giovanna Fletcher, and from Happy Mum, this is Life of a Midwife. At the heart of Marley's practice is a simple belief: every birth is unique, and that helping families feel truly informed and heard can shape everything that follows.
I think most people are fearful when it comes to having a baby. They fear all sorts of different things. Am I going to survive? Is my baby going to survive? Those are the two biggest ones, because we hear so many stories, don't we? We hear so many traumatic birth stories and things that have happened, and it's all too easy to think, oh gosh, is that going to happen to me? The only thing I can really do is to help to educate families on birth, help them with their choices and their options, and if they have any fears, to talk through it with them, because some of them are rational fears and some of them are irrational fears, and it's good to get things out in the open and try and find out where these fears have come from. Like the majority of people who will come to me and say they're absolutely petrified of giving birth vaginally, for example, is because their three friends who all had vaginal births, they all had horrendous tears, or they all had forceps, or they all had these horrible interventions. And then when you actually unpack the birth story and you learn why this happened, you understand that, well, maybe this is the reason why. Why were forceps used? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Was this necessary? Was that necessary? So you have to sort of start questioning things. And then how can we avoid this happening to you? But ultimately, if somebody is that petrified of having a baby vaginally, then they're well in their rights to ask for a cesarean if they want to. It's absolutely their choice. It's a case of trying to talk through fears, unravel things, and if we still come to the same conclusion, then to see how best we can help somebody. Talking and explaining things is really helpful. The way your birth is going to go, it's not just about your body. Obviously things like nutrition, how fit you are, how healthy you are, that makes a difference. Of course it does. How your mum gave birth. If your mum had an easy birth, then you're more likely to have an easy birth. It's not a given, but you're more likely. But it's not just physical. And this was kind of the turning point that made me think, actually, it's also your environment. It's also your sensory needs, your mindset. That has a big role in how your birth is going to go. So I was in triage. So this is the area where if you think you're in labour, then we get you to come into triage, check you over first. If you're not in labour, go home. If you are in labour ward or birth centre or wherever. So she rang up very early in the morning and said that she's been having contractions on and off all through the night. She thinks they're kind of picking up a little bit now, every 5 minutes or so. It's her first baby. Every 5 minutes or so, what should she do? Should she come in? So I said, yeah, okay, come in. Let's just come in and I'll check you over and we'll go from there. By the time she got to me, because it was probably about an hour after I spoke to her that she finally made it in, her husband had already gone off to work. So when she rang, he had already left for work, because she had said to me, go to work because it's going to be all day or whatever. So she came into the triage, and by that point her contractions were very, 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 very quick. They were like every sort of 3 to 4 minutes. And then, so we checked her and I said, oh, you seems like you're in established labour now. We'll get you to go to labour ward. And when I told her that, because she must have been dilated maybe 3 or 4 centimetres or something, she suddenly panicked. And she said, my husband, no, I can't have the baby yet, he's at work. She spent about 10 minutes panicking and she was in tears. And I noticed that over that time, her contractions basically stopped. I remember thinking, hang on a minute, she's gone from having these contractions every few minutes Now, the last 15 minutes, and she's been worried about where her husband is, she hasn't, I think she had like one contraction. So I'm like, what's going on here? She rang him, told him that she was in labour. So he said, that's fine, I'm leaving now. I said, look, we're just going to observe you for a bit, just stay here. So she kind of just took a seat in the triage area. She was walking around, got herself a cup of tea. He arrived, and people don't believe me when I tell you this. He arrived. Within about 10 to 15 minutes of him arriving, they came back. She started having contractions. People don't believe me, but I had colleagues that witnessed it, right? So they know, if any of them are listening, they know what I'm talking about. Her contractions started coming back. I think she laboured for most of the day after that. I mean, you know, it wasn't like it was a quick labour or anything. I think she must have given birth later on that evening. But she started contracting again. I think within about an hour of him arriving, she was back to contracting every 3 minutes, labour ward, and then off she went. I didn't see her after that because I handed her over to somebody else. I had trained as a hypnobirthing teacher, and I remember them talking to me. This was back in 2011 I trained. And I remember them talking to me, the teacher, and saying to me about the nervous system and flight and fright, and how when we feel fearful, that can actually stop labour. And when I first heard her saying that, I was like, no, come on now. You know, the body doesn't just stop like that. And I actually witnessed it. She tensed up so much and was so panicky about her husband missing the birth that her labour pretty much just, I mean, she had the odd sort of niggle, but the contractions were pretty much gone until he arrived. That's why when I do antenatal education, birth education, I always include the mental side of things, making sure you are aware of what your sensory needs are, thinking about your environment. If you fall off your bike and hurt yourself, if you walk into a cupboard, like I did the other day, the corner of the cupboard hit me on the head, what helps you? Is it a warm compress? Is it a hug from your husband? Is it a massage? Think about the things that help you when you're in pain, and then apply that to birth. Some people like to have all their family with them because it makes them feel safe. Other people don't want that at all. Some people like absolute silence. Some people like a little bit of background noise. I've been to a home birth where they've been playing drum and bass, you know, as I walk through the door. For me, absolutely not. You know, I could not have that. But for this woman, that's what she wanted. And that helped her. Birth needs to be individual. And if people think about what their sensory needs are and what makes them feel comfortable, safe, happy, and less fearful, then they're kind of halfway there to preparing for their birth. Birth is unique for everybody. We're all inherently different. Our birth stories are all going to be different. Prepare yourself, your body, your mind, and your soul, and just remember that you are unique and you're different to everybody else when it comes to having a baby.
Natasha knows all too well the anxiety that can accompany a prenatal scan. Now a sonographer herself, she understands the weight of every word she speaks to her patients.
I suppose it kind of goes back to when I had my own children. I had two separate experiences. So I had a sonographer who was a midwife, who was amazing, and she reassured me and she explained everything. And I just felt, this lady knows what she is doing here, and I feel completely happy that everything is as it should be. And then I had a second experience where, again, a midwife sonographer, but she was very standoffish. She didn't communicate very well. And I was sort of lay on the bed thinking, well, is everything okay? We had these really long silences, and me and my husband were sort of looking at each other, and you start to get really anxious. And I was a midwife then at the time. She said something, and I always remember this. She said, oh, baby's legs are really short. is it okay? What does that mean? Is that normal? You know, because I wasn't a sonographer, so I didn't have the knowledge, right? But then for like 3 weeks afterwards, and obviously you've got pregnancy hormones and your mind runs wild with you, I honestly thought, well, there's something wrong with my baby's limbs. You know, there's got to be. She said they were short. I always think I don't ever want to practice like that. Because I've had my own experiences, I've also had a pregnancy loss, and I think that's part of maybe the reason why I feel so passionately about open communication, no matter how difficult that communication is. Moving forward, that was a really pivotal moment for me. I used to hover around the sonography suite, being like, is there any training? Is there any training? So yeah, for the last 5 years, I've been a midwife sonographer. I got there in the end. It was during COVID, very early on in my sonography career. And obviously we had all of the rules and restrictions for appointments and scans. This lady pops up into my mind really often. She was an IVF pregnancy. She was 39 weeks and 6 days. She'd attended the day assessment unit with reduced fetal movements. And luckily, our sort of scan department is adjacent to the day assessment unit. And this midwife, who had been a midwife longer than I've been alive, she came and said, there's something wrong here. Can you scan her immediately? If she's telling you something's wrong, something's wrong. This woman is on her own. So her partner's in the car. And we scan her, and sadly the baby has passed away. In that moment, so not only are you having to break the bad news that this baby that you've longed for, that has taken years for you to get, has died, you're having that news on your own. And then we're having to ring your partner to say, please come into the hospital immediately, but we can't tell you why over the phone. And that whole situation, I think, really made me reflect on really what is cruel. That we should never have cancelled those appointments in terms of not letting the partners in. Because not only that woman is going to remember that situation for the rest of her life, she's going to remember my face, how I dealt with her, but she's going to remember that her partner wasn't there. And vice versa, her partner is going to be thinking, well, I wasn't there either. It was just, quite frankly, dreadful. This isn't about me. I'm not living her journey, but for my own practice moving forward, that kind of paved the way for me in terms of how bereavement care, and particularly how breaking bad news, should be done. And it's with kindness and compassion. Fundamentally, I'm here as almost like a vessel of support for that woman and her partner. I know that as long as I've done the best that I can do in that situation, I can leave that at work and then go home. But when I first started scanning in particular, I think I really underestimated the gravity of having to break bad news. And, you know, I've been scanning for 5 years now. It never gets easier. It's not like the more you do it, the kind of easier it is. It's not. And every woman is different. Every family is different. And so for me, again, I think midwives have an innate kind of skill where we read energy, we read body language, and we adjust our practice to what we're given. There's nothing that I can say that is going to make that news any better. But as long as I deliver kindness and compassion and space to communicate, I feel that I've done a good job.
Thank you so much for listening. Please do like, subscribe and leave us a review. We would love to know what you think. And if you're a midwife and would like to take part in this series, you can find contact details in the podcast description.